Welcome everybody to another episode Against the Grain podcast. Thank you guys for all the support, all the comments, all your guys' messages. We appreciate all of it. Make sure you guys comment, like, subscribe, share this video. With that being said, we have episode number 9. I have some special guests here today. As you know, my co-host, we got Cristina in the building. We got Saint over here to my left, and then we have Bree or Breanna. Which one do you go by? Breanna? Bree, okay. Yeah. We got some special guests here today, but thank you guys for coming on. And I know some of you guys, well, for Bree, it was like super last minute. I was like, hey, look, this is what we want to talk about. So thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. And Saint, bro, I'm glad you're here. I know the last episode you were just like, let's just talk about it. The last episode you were on and you were just like, man, I want to reshoot it. Let's redo it or whatever.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, so we're here now. You're back. Thanks for coming, man. You're fresh from Hawaii, right?
Yeah, fresh. As in like not that fresh no anymore.
Like 2 weeks or something?
Yeah, I just got back a couple weeks ago.
How did that go, man? So everyone that watched the last one, we know that you're in acting, all that. What were you into over there? What was going on?
I was knocking out the finale of Magnum PI. So it's on NBC. They're going to be airing that one probably sometime around June, July. So I'm recurring on the show, which is pretty awesome. It's really cool to be able to fly back home and just work in film and TV. But, you know, it's kind of weird because I'm in LA where you would think most of the stuff would be shooting. And instead we're flying back home all the time.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And then you're going to be doing some more work, I hear, right? Possibly?
Very soon.
Nice.
Wow.
It's funny. I'm learning like the show business talk. I'm like, we can't talk about some of it. You know, you got to be waiting stuff. But it's cool. There's some amazing things happening. We'll get into more and kind of what the episode is going to be about and stuff. And Bree, go ahead and introduce yourself to us. Give us a little intro about yourself, and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay. So, I'm Bree, and I actually just got approval for my nutrition smoothie and energy bar. Nice. So it's going to be in Glendora, California, and I'm really excited to my intention was to get like a healthy hangout so people can come and grab something that's a healthy option for them. You know, I've always loved health and nutrition for the past 10 years. I've just been all about that and working on myself and my goals, but also being able to support other people too, right? So within that, that's why I wanted to have a space where people could come in and hang out, but it be like a healthy hangout, you know, and stuff. And so it's been a process. It's been a year in the making. I've known that I've wanted my own business for a long time now. And so we're super close. We're going to be having a grand opening and all of that. But in the meantime, it's just all about creating the connections and the impact, you know, within the community. So I'm really excited.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. I want to ask you some more on that. We'll get to that in a minute here. Cristina, how are you doing?
I'm doing
how's everything? How you been?
I'm doing good. Since the last time we shot, we got so much awesome feedback on that last episode.
Yeah, we had Alejo and then Zio.
Zamara, yes.
Shout out to Zio. She's doing a lot for us behind the scenes, doing a whole bunch of stuff. So shout out to Zio. We love you, Zio.
Yeah, but it was so good. That episode was just amazing. So I'm just super excited to be here and be a part of what's coming with ATG because it's awesome. And thank you guys for being here. So excited to hear because I know you guys both have that entrepreneurial spirit within you. So excited to pick your brains on that, pour out a little bit of wisdom.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
That was funny, Saint?
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Bro, you were in your own right.
Spirit.
Yeah. You're doing things, dude. It's really cool.
I have the spirit of entrepreneur.
You do, though. You do. No, so the reason for this episode, right? I was just thinking, I was like, man, you know, I want to do an episode where we talk to, you know, some people in the church that are doing things that are you know, we're still young. And I was sharing with you guys, you know, a lot of people our age, you know, they're not really, some people aren't really doing much. Some people are doing a lot. Some people are you know, and that's not that it's bad to be at home. I know a lot of us still are at home and stuff, but they're at home still working minimum wage, no goals, no dreams, kind of barely getting by. And I was sharing, I don't know, it was with Cristina or somebody, but I was sharing how my parents, for instance, I think my mom got married at 18.
Wow.
And then she already was then she got pregnant right away with me. They started their business, you know, got a house, all that stuff. And I'm sure maybe some of your parents have the same story where early on they're already doing stuff. And now it's kind of seems like our generation, it's totally normal for a 30-year-old to still be single with no kids, you know, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. So it's just cool to see you guys and see what you guys are doing and stuff like that. So with that, I want to kind of get into kind of what you have. So you were saying you have your own, what exactly is what is it classified under?
Smoothie bar.
So it's a smoothie bar. Okay, that's cool. And you brought some today, right? You brought some drinks for us. What do we drink? What am I drinking? I know mine's a clear, It was like
it's supposed to be a SoCal sunrise, so it had
Okay.
the vibe for that. So it's a smoothie and energy bar. So these are our energy teas. So these are like a healthy option. You know, there's a lot of other options out there for energy,
Yeah.
but this one gives you that sustainable energy without the crash. It has B vitamins and aloe and all the stuff to really get you going in your day. So I'm a mom, so this is perfect for me in the morning, but also I love to work out. So it's good
Yeah.
for before a workout, you know. So yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. How did you, so when did this, you said it's like been like 10 years that you've been kind of like, is it working out? Did you do sports early on, like in high school or anything?
Yeah,
Or?
so I've done sports my whole life up until a junior college. So I played for 2 years for volleyball. So once I moved out of state, I lived in Arizona and I stopped playing sports. I just kind of got into, you know, going to school, eating whatever. And I was like, what's going on here? Because I started noticing changes that I didn't like within my body and confidence. And so I had got introduced to starting my own nutrition plan and really just getting guidance on healthier habits. And so for me to be a full-time student, like I was 20, 21 at the time. I had no idea about nutrition. They don't teach you about that in sports or being athletes, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I got started on my nutrition plan, I was able to like drop, you know, body fat. I really just got my confidence back. It was something that I took in every phase of my life, which was awesome because it's like a consistent thing. Going from literally being 20 to 21, now being 30, still having those healthy habits that not only for myself, but I can teach to other people now. And, you know, being that example for my daughter. So it really started with me first, and then from that I was able to extend the hand and pay it forward to people that I met, friends, family, and stuff. Yeah.
Very
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah, so with that, it's like now I have a building where I can invite people to get a healthy option and know they have support and they have people that are rooting for them, you know, whether they want to come and grab a smoothie or they want support or guidance with their goals.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And did you kind of already have like, when did it come to mind? You're like, this is what like I want to do. Like I want to have my own spot to do this.
I think it's because I learned within the process of getting into health and nutrition, there was a lot of different avenues that I thought I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a dentist, but within that, I found that I didn't love teeth or dentistry. It was to be able to help people and make them feel better than when they got there, right? So I was actually introduced to like a smoothie bar when I was in Arizona, and kind of like that business model of having people come in and being that for them, that healthy option. So I actually have my good friend out in Arizona, my mentor, my coach, is like a sister to me, Nagin. And so within starting my business, I go to her for mentorship, right? Because she has that out there. So, you know, I've been able to see how it's worked, and I've loved it because I get to talk to people, and like, it's, you know, I love the energy and the smoothies, but essentially just being that positive, healthy impact.
Yeah.
So when you worked there, you kind of already knew like, I want to like have my own spot or whatever.
Yeah.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
it's crazy to see like the timeline, like 10 years later,
Totally.
9 years later, whatever it is. That's cool. And then you said you were a mom, right? So how your daughter just had a birthday or something?
She just turned 5.
She just turned 5. That's so awesome. And so that's crazy, right? Like you're like a business owner now, like you're a mom and stuff. And with that, like there's got to be other challenges in that too, right? Having a daughter, being young, stuff like that. Like how do you balance all of that? Like it's got to be tough, right?
Well, allow support for sure. I have tons of support from my family, so that's like the number one thing. But it's really just me continuing to like remind myself of what my vision is and like why I'm doing this. So within all of the challenges, especially because when you're going towards something where you know like you're meant to do it, a lot of stuff is going to come and it's going to try to like hold you back or say no,
Yeah.
you know. But so within that, it's definitely developed that perseverance and just like to keep on going. But I would just say like I've gotten super clear that this is what is meant for me and it's my purpose. So within my daughter, it's like just having that schedule. Of course, I have the help and stuff, and she's came literally with the build out. She's been there painting the bar with us. Like, you know, I posted videos and
cool.
stuff. So she's totally in it. And I think
love
one day
those
she'll be able
videos.
to like see it. Yeah. And stuff. And she knows, like, she's like, my last name, she calls me, you know, Bree, and my last name is Stone Nutrition. Like she said before, you know, but so she knows, and she asked like, can I invite my friends there and stuff? But just to be able to balance it, I have a ton of support, like I said, from my family. And when I open up my bar, it's figuring it out. You know, you just figure you could figure it out, you know? And at the end of the day, I know what it's going to look like once I'm open, and to create that life for her and I, You know, it takes a lot of sacrifice and struggle right now, of course, but I know it's going to be worth it.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know.
That's so cool. No, it's good to see because, like, I don't know a lot of your story, but
Yeah.
some of the things that I do know, like, I know these last couple of years probably haven't been like the easiest and stuff like that. You've had transition, whatever the case is. So it's cool to see you like continue to move forward where, like, you know, there's things that happen in our lives that, like, some people, like, they hit like that point, they're like, and they get stuck there like literally forever. So it's cool to see you like break through that. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't know too much of your story, but from what I know, it seems like you really are like driven by like your goals and stuff. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
I had a question as far as like you know, your family and stuff like that, because you know we see them at church all the time and everything. And then, you know, for those that don't know, your family with Antoinette, right?
Yes.
So their moms are sisters,
so my
right?
Mom,
So that's your
so my mom has a brother. Okay, so then he had Antoinette. So Antoinette is my mom's niece.
Antoinette is
my
your mom's niece.
Yes.
I'm so bad with like the family.
I am too.
trees sometimes.
I was really trying to do that so it wasn't confusing. So my mom is her Thea. That
Your
was probably
mom
easiest.
is her Thea. Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you like, how did you first like start coming to like church and stuff like that? Cause I'm sure you probably seen her posts and stuff like that. Were you guys going to church? Like what's kind of like your background as far as like church?
So I grew up going to Catholic school. Yeah. So I grew up from kindergarten all the way up to high school. I went to, you know, private middle school and high school. And then when I moved out of state to go to Arizona, I really didn't go to church or plug into church or anything like that. But then once I moved back home after having my daughter, it was actually right before COVID, because I had been home with my daughter so much, which was an amazing blessing. But at the same time, I knew I needed to like get out and do something, right? And like I was starting I really wanted to start something with like a mobile nutrition bar until I could find my spot to have an actual building. So I was like, well, Antoinette and her husband Chris, like they have their gym, so that would be awesome to pair the fitness with the nutrition. And so I talked to her, and then I started doing my smoothies and teas like out of her gym and all of that. So with that being said, going into there, I didn't really know because she's invited us to church many times, and I think I don't know if I said no, or she'd be like, hey, like I'm singing, like, oh, awesome, but we didn't go. You know, like I'm sure like it's great, but I don't know. I just, you know, so the more that little did I know, plugging into their gym lifted would really be that just guidance spiritually that I needed, but I wasn't really looking for at the time. Yeah. And so going into that, just being surrounded in that environment was like, oh my gosh, like I love it here, you know, and stuff. And so, so that was right before COVID hit. I had talked to them about it, and then COVID hit. So then I didn't end up setting up in there, like, you know, and so then once everything started getting open again, then I started doing my mobile bar in there, and that's when I started going to church. And on Sundays, I believe, I went to a couple of the Thursday nights, and then life kind of pulled me out of the Thursday nights, so I wasn't going Thursday. And anyway, so fast forward, I think, and it's kind of unfortunate when you go through stuff that's super hard, you know, you do I lean towards God and like really just focusing on my relationship and my faith. But this was what I was going to say. I have a mentor nutrition-wise and business-wise for my smoothie bar and all of that. But also having a spiritual mentor, which I don't even think she didn't even extend it. I was just kind of like, hey, like, you know, so anything that would happen, I'd always call Antoinette and be like, what do I do?
You're
or, you know,
mentor.
this and that. Yeah. And she'd be like, you got to pray about it, you know, or she would give me guidance. And so within that, it really was like, okay, I just started getting more connected, and because it was the environment that I was in, I started going to church consistently. And then me going just within this past year, really going consistent. I was just going by myself and taking my daughter. I was like, okay, it was like on Sunday, you know, but I was still working and doing pop-ups and mobile nutrition bars on Thursday nights, so I wasn't coming on Thursday nights, you know? And so I was like, okay, just Sunday. And then my mom started to come on Sundays, and then it was just me and her and my daughter, and then we keep going. And then my sister, I have two sisters, one that's a year younger than me. She had like a church, and she had, I don't know why, resistance going towards like
really?
ours. Yeah. And so that
Was it
like,
the
okay.
first time I heard it?
Yeah, right. So we're like, okay, but we invite her.
Right, Cristina?
Yeah. I know the feeling.
Okay, yeah, no, so she has resistance for a reason, for sure, right? And so then over time, she started coming as well. And then I think I have another sister that's younger, and then she kind of started seeing it. My dad, who just was not coming. Now he's coming to church, you know, and
so awesome.
and then I also made the commitment as I was going on Sundays, but I wasn't still going, like I wasn't going on Thursdays. Like come this new year, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on Thursdays. And even Antoinette was like, you know, Sundays aren't just it, Bree, you know, like it's just, you know, and I was like, okay, you know, but that's what I needed. Sometimes you just like need that reminder, and I do need that push in that direction, which, you know, I was like, okay, Sundays, because I grew up like, well, church is on Sundays. Like, you know, we never had midweek services or Thursday night services. And
Very
so,
different.
yeah, totally. And it's like, you absolutely, like, it just fuels you, you know? So, so then now we're going Thursday nights, and I have like my whole family coming, even like my brother-in-law came the other Sunday, you know. So it's been really cool to see. But it was, you know, it started with Antoinette not like stop inviting us, even though, you know, she loved us, we loved her. But then again, just me, I didn't even know putting myself in an environment that was around Christian base and, you know, being in her gym, like that wasn't my intention going in there. But little did I know going in there was going to literally bring, you know, all of this. So,
That's so
yeah, so now my
crazy.
whole family's at church now.
That's so crazy.
So
And I'm sure you guys have like seen her family and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah.
like it encouraged me to see like your whole row, like
Yeah.
all your family.
Yeah.
And then your dad, like we don't have that many dads in the church.
Yeah.
So that's like really cool to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
It's so awesome to see, because like I remember seeing this from like when I started going to Lifted, and this was like 2020. My story is like very similar to yours. Like I was, well, or your sisters too, right? Like all that resistance to harvest time. But I was going to Lifted consistently, and Antoinette and Chris just pour their hearts out to people, and it's so amazing. And it's like, little do you know, it's like they don't do it like I'm gonna snatch you and
No.
hold you hostage and make you go to harvest time. That's not their intention at all. But it's just like God has a plan, you know. But I feel like Lifted is definitely like a launching point a lot of the times, like spiritually, and it just like it's so awesome. You know, and then the teas and everything. Can I just say I'm sitting here and I'm like trying to keep calm, but I'm like, yeah, like so much energy. Yeah, they're so good. They're so good. But yeah, it's just so awesome to see, and super encouraging that like Manny said, your whole family is there. Because I remember like being with Antoinette and like hearing her like always praying for you guys and just like warring for you guys and never losing faith that you guys were going to show up one day. And now you guys are there. You guys are consistent. And like it definitely encourages us to see like your guys' family there being faithful, being there every service. Even the prayer nights, you guys came to some of the prayer nights. You guys are always at the worship nights. So it's so awesome to see that you guys are like a part of Harvest Time, and like Antoinette never like lost faith and kept praying for you guys and worrying for you guys, and it's so awesome.
Yeah.
Can I piggyback off of that? I think it's really encouraging that your whole family's there, but I also think it's really cool to watch your growth, like actually see you like quoting scripture. We talked on Instagram one time, and I was just like, that's so true. I was like, yes, and it's not like something you were necessarily taught. It's something that you caught. And I'm like, wow, look how much growth is happening in her life. And she's like, look at this rhema, this revelation that I just got for myself that I'm
Yes.
applying to my life currently. There's so much opposition whenever you're in the will of God.
Right.
I think like Steve Furtick, I was listening to him this past week, and he was talking about how whenever he's doing something for God, that's how he knows there's he's doing something, and he's like, I'm right on track, is when everything keeps bumping against him and fighting him and pushing him. And whenever there's no opposition, it's like, the devil ain't gonna mess with you. You're not a threat.
Right.
You're not a problem. There's nothing going wrong. So it's like, hey man, you're on my side. We're good. And like everything's gonna work out in your favor. When things are going against you, it starts to look bad, and you have to continue trusting God with faith, and it still works out in your favor. But you have to continue to trust Him.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's so good. No, it's really good. It's really cool to see, and it's like only the beginning, you know. Did you guys? Is this like your first Christian church, or have you gone to like another? Were you a part of another Christian church at all?
Not
before?
really. Like I've been to another Christian church.
We're
but
crazy,
it was
right?
At first, I was like, okay, this is
wild.
Yeah, this is kind of different, you
This is
know.
crazy.
But something kept us coming back.
That's so cool.
You know. But yeah, so this is really the first Christian church that I've actually plugged into. I can't say that I've ever been plugged into another one. I've gone to another service, but it wasn't. I didn't feel anything, if that makes sense. You know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like you just get something different, like, you know. And so just over the past year, I have experienced growth within myself, and I know what it's from, you know? And so it's different. There's a difference between just going and being, you know, being present at a service, but then getting something from it and really like leaving different than you arrived.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it's just the whole family thing. Like seeing families, like it just it means a lot because I know how like difficult it is even just for one person to be there, much less like sister, and then mom, and then dad. It's just like, dang, like that's awesome. That's like goals right there to have your whole family. Yeah, your daughter.
Next
Last
generation.
week, what was it? Last Sunday. I think it was last Sunday. She was with your mom. Your little daughter was with your mom on a Sunday. And at the end, my dad's like, you know, raise your hands. I want to pray you out. And like your daughter's right there, like raising both hands. Like literally the whole time, like she was really like receiving, you know, I was like, she's so smart. She's crazy.
Yeah, she's so smart.
No, I was listening to worship music this morning, like doing makeup, getting ready and stuff. She's like, Mom, do you want me to turn it up for you? I was like, sure. Like, you know, so she's definitely there. Yeah.
That's so cool. I don't really, I've like talked to her like maybe like once, like she like said hi to me or whatever after service, but I don't know, something you could tell she like carries something, like she's gonna be like a little fireball for sure, like a little preacher or something.
Yeah, she's absorbing everything. And I think Pastor said it before, like even if you don't think they, whatever they're listening to, whatever's around them, like it is like affecting them, you know, and stuff. And there was even one time where I posted it on my Instagram, like a video, but she had a mic and I wasn't even home, but she was like preaching on this mic that Jesus is in your heart. Like if you're feeling bored, just know that he's in your heart.
But my sister used to do that too, and she's now a youth pastor.
Really?
So she went to Bible college with me as well, but now she's in full-time ministry, has preached to thousands of people over her life. And like she started off being like, she'd preach in her bedroom, and I'd hear her and I'd be like, "What are you doing?" I would open the door and she'd be like, "Go away, I'm preaching." I'm like, it's my time with God. But, I mean, she started there, and then one day she got called up on stage, and we were at a conference in Columbus, Texas, like towards like Katy and Houston area. And she, like it's like thousands of young people are there, and they called her up to go and just say a few words, like we're from Hawaii, you know. And she just started preaching and like, we're like the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We're like the Daniels. Don't let anyone despise your youth. And you're just like, where did that come from? It came from those bedrooms, you know, just preaching to herself.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. No, there's definitely something on her life for sure. You can already see it. And what Saint said, like my dad has an old VHS tape. He used to have those old cameras, like the big one with the VHS, but he has one, and I'm like standing on like top of a chair, and I have like this little microphone thing, like you want to accept the Lord, like preaching to nobody, like preaching to the camera, because we grew up watching like TV, you know, like TBN or whatever, and they're like preaching. So I don't know, in my mind I thought I was like preaching to everybody,
cute.
like it was a live broadcast or something.
And now Manny's on the stage.
Yeah.
And he's speaking,
So there's something
you know?
there.
Right.
Like there's a time. Like that's a timeline. Like that's so cool.
Awesome.
With that though, thanks for sharing that. It's good to know. Where we'll get into a little bit more, but because if not, I'll forget. Where can people like plug in and stuff like that if they want to like plug in like social media stuff like that?
So Instagram, we do have our Instagram. It's Stone Nutrition _. So that's where you can get all the updates too for our we're gonna do a soft opening and then a big grand opening. But just that's how we'll be connected and how they can continue to follow us and follow what we're doing and the impact we're going to make. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Hopefully everyone go support, check you out, especially if they're in the area. So it's so good. I want to transition a little bit with that because of kind of the topic that we're talking about, but thank you. I wanted to get a little backstory so we can, kind of do that. But I want us to kind of transition and kind of talk to maybe people that are watching this, and Saint, you can jump on this as well too, about like I said, the whole thing is like setting goals, following through, like doing something with your life. Like, my dad right now, or he's always preached it like all the time, but he's on a series right now. But his whole thing is like not being like mediocre. Even Marty, we had Marty Salai here on Thursday, and his whole thing is just like, and I've always thought about that when it comes to like Christianity, your walk with God. It's like, we've known a lot of people, like you see them all over, you know what I mean? Where it's just like the bare minimum, you know what I mean? And it's like, he said, what was it that his niece or his granddaughter, I don't know, somebody, right?
Yeah.
He was on a trip and then it was a buffet and then she got like two strawberries or whatever. And then he comes in, he has like all this food and he's just like, that's how Christianity is sometimes. Like you can just get away with the bare minimum, die and go to heaven, cool, or you can like give it your all, you know what I mean? So with that, like I just want to throw it back to you guys, like, what would you guys say for young people that are watching this that kind of have goals, have dreams, have vision, but things happen, life happens to them, they kind of get distracted, or maybe for you, like, you're in acting and, about like, not getting a role, being disappointed, like what advice would you give for people like move forward through like those challenges, obstacles, like things like that?
Wow. That's a good question. You mean just in general, or you're talking about with this?
Or
So-
you can use like specifics, just like what you do, acting, all that. Like maybe situations happened, or what advice
I
can you
started
give?
acting when I was really young. I started acting on stage in like crowds of thousands of people at the age of like 5, 6 years old. Doing like sketches for my church was a really huge church back in Hawaii called Word of Life Christian Center. I was kind of thrown into the fray at a young age and just didn't understand what stage fright was. I was kind of like, yeah, cool. You'd be about me. Yay. And I think over time of doing that, I like someone kind of found me, was like, hey, have you thought about being in an agency or presented? And I'm like, no, I like volleyball. I like basketball. I like track and field. That was my thing. I'm an athlete. And I kind of got pushed into that over time where, and it's something that this is the part that I would encourage young people to do is find out what your purpose is. I've been talking to a lot of the men in our church. I spoke to Jay about this, and when he's watching this, he'll be like, oh yeah. What's your purpose? What are you called to do? A lot of people, especially young people, what they do is they go, God, like they don't even think about God when it comes to this. They're just like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And what did you say when you were a kid?
Me?
Yeah.
I wanted to be a fire truck, not a firefighter, a fire truck. Yeah, my mom has like a paper. It says, I want to be a fire truck.
No, when I was a kid,
what I wanted to be.
it was like my 6th grade graduation, and they were like saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm literally going, I want to be a pro athlete, pro basketball player. And I was well known for being super athletic and like a captain of my teams, all that kind of stuff. But at the time, that's what I thought. And during the 6th grade graduation, we still have it on tape. I'm like really small because I had a growth spurt at a certain point to giving it to where I am now. And there's a mic, and we did I Believe I Can Fly for our graduation song.
Dang.
But at the end, I have to do all
R.
the runs
Kelly?
that R. Kelly does. And my voice is like, I believe. It's super high pitched. But I grabbed the mic and I start doing all the runs, and and afterwards, like a few other pastors came up to my dad at the end, and they're like, I think he's missing his calling. And I didn't catch that, right? I didn't think music mean performing arts. I was like, no. And I think it was when I went to that conference out in Texas, I was saying, okay, God, like, what am I, like, they were doing Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the thoughts I have towards you, thoughts of good and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. And I was sitting there going, God, you created me. You know what tool I am. You know what I was created for. And I've said this before to a lot of the men in our church, but then my parents actually taught me this: where purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable.
Say that again. Where purpose?
Where purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable.
That's
and
good.
I've said this before, but if you don't know what your purpose is, then you're going to abuse the people around you, or you're going to abuse yourself. So for instance, let's say she's a toothbrush and I'm a hammer, right? If I'm a hammer, I'm meant to put power behind and knock nails in, right? If I'm a toothbrush, I'm made for intricacy, I'm made for delicacy, but I'm used for cleaning. Now, if you switch the purposes of those things and we start to go ahead and try to knock the toothbrush into the nail, what's going to happen? You might be able to knock the nail in eventually, but what's going to happen is the toothbrush will be destroyed, right? Vice versa, switch the purpose of the hammer. If you're brushing teeth with your hammer, you're going to be toothless very shortly, right? Even if you're delicate with it. Now, with that being said, if you don't know your purpose, and this is what I would recommend for young people, is to go, God, I'm seeking after you. What's my purpose? Because Jeremiah 29:11 talks about the thoughts that he has towards you, thoughts of good and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. And in some scriptures it says an expected end. But in Jeremiah 29:13, it says, if you seek me, you will find me if you search for me with all your heart. There's a reason why you connect seeking him right after talking about your purpose, right? And as you seek God, eventually that purpose is revealed to you if you're seeking after him and what that purpose is, right? It's the same thing as Psalms 37:4. As you delight yourself in the Lord, you should get the desires of your heart. You're seeking after God. You're seeking and delighting yourself in him. And all of a sudden, you start to have your desires to be like his, and he knows exactly what he wants for you. And once that started to align, that's when I stepped into my destiny, right? I got like a 3rd-degree spray in my senior year, but before then, it was already told me many times by many preachers, pastors, and prophets after I started to seek God, that you're going to be influential in music, media, and the performing arts industry.
Wow.
So I already knew at a certain point, like, okay, I need to pivot and start to listen to what God's telling me instead of what I want or what my desires are.
That's good. That's good. What would you say, Bree,
Yeah.
to like someone watching this? Someone's like, man, I'm going through things. They've had issues. You've been trying to open for a year now. Like you've had, you know what I mean? You've gone through a process. Like
Yeah.
talk about it.
So I would probably say, I mean, as far as finding like what your passion or your purpose is, I think for me, it was, I went through trial and error with a lot of different things. But to just take it back, like, what do I love to do? What is something that excites me? What is something that I get excited about talking about or about doing, right? And so I used to always think I was an introvert, I would like to say. And I still am in certain times. But I've found that I'm really good with people and interacting with people, you know. And when I talk about nutrition and goals and stuff, I get excited about it because it's what I genuinely love. It's my passion. And so there is a difference between like passion and purpose, you know. So definitely praying about it and seeking, like, is this for me, you know? And that's something that I found very much like clarity within. But in the process of getting to where you want to be, so I found my purpose in it being with nutrition and health and helping people. But, you know, talking about different obstacles and how did I overcome that with goals, it's like just being really clear, but also having action steps behind it.
Bingo.
You know, I want to open up, I want to open up a shop. Awesome. Like, what does that look like? You know? And so in the process of this past year, a bunch of stuff did come up and happen, but it's like, it wasn't not, you don't just quit. You don't just run from it because it's hard, right? Because you're going to learn a lesson within the process. So it's like, okay, this came up. So now what do I have to do to overcome it? You know, and it can be hard. And your first instinct could be like, I don't know if this is for me, you know, but it's being clear and it's having faith that like things are going to work out for you. You know, things aren't trying to go against you. Like they're happening for you, not to you. So it's really just having that strong mindset and belief, but also having action behind what you want to do. So now moving forward, if you wanted to open up a smoothie bar, I would say, all right, here's step one.
Just not in Glendora. Or Covina.
Well, you know, so within
Don't be my competition.
well, 5 mile radius. But no, so I could tell you like how to do it, right? So that way it's like, okay, you want to open up a smoothie bar? Well, these are the steps it's going to take. And by the way, just know it's not going to be easy. So if you're looking for something easy, well, this may not be for you, but any business venture or any goal, it's not easy. Even just with health and fitness and working on, you know, if you say you want to lose weight or you want abs or whatever, like it's not going to happen overnight, which is why a lot of people, they're, you know, they
don't
quit.
see the result quick enough. I mean, we're in that generation where you microwave your food and you eat it right away. So it's like no one wants to actually sit down and cook the food.
Right.
And it's like that's what it takes. It takes a little bit of cooking.
So the people that we see that have all these things or, you know, the nice stuff or we want to be there, those are most likely the people that went through all the obstacles and the lessons and developed the tough mindset and the tough faith. So they're actually one of probably the strongest people because, you know, so, and it goes hand in hand with who you surround yourself with, because if I want to open up my own business, but I'm hanging around people who, you know nothing about it, having their own business or not to say their jobs are less than, but it's not the environment that's going to push me or support me or excel me. Not that I'm relying on them, but just having that interaction. I was actually at Lifted the other day, and I was with both business, you know, Chris and Antoinette. Kevin, he has his own business with meal prep, and we were just like having a, what did I call it? It was just like, I don't know. I felt like it was like a power hour type thing and just like knocking ideas off of each other and like, oh my gosh, we saw this and we could do this. And, you know, and that's what gets me excited to be around other people who, you know, they're not taking less than, you know, and they do have big goals. And so any goal that you do set out, it's never too big. It's just going to make sure you have an action plan behind it. So,
That's good.
That's very
That's
true.
good.
Yeah.
I want to throw a quote to you guys because I've heard this and there's a couple different ways I guess I've looked at it. There's a quote that says, if you do what you love, you'll never work another day in your life. Thoughts? What are your thoughts on that for all you guys?
Well, because I think when you're doing something that you love, you don't wake up in the morning, you're like, oh gosh, I have to go to this job. Like, you know, and I felt that way too when I was like, you know, going to college. I was volunteering at like a dental office and stuff. And I was like, okay, today's Wednesday. Like, I'm going to have to go downtown and do this. And I just felt it like in my heart, like I'm going, but I wasn't excited to go, you know? And so I think when you get to wake up in the morning doing something you love, you know, like genuinely, it's, I don't know, it's like you're looking forward to it, right? And so being at my smoothie bar, exhausted at the end of the day. Yesterday, I was so exhausted, but I was talking all day to people. Like, I was in my environment. And so it was a good energy. And like, I knew it's exactly where I need to be. So you do get drained after, but it's like the best feeling ever because you were doing something that you love to do. I wasn't like, I didn't even know what time it was because I'm like, oh shoot, it's already 4:00. Like, I've been here since 7:30, you know? So, so yeah, I think that's so accurate. Like, if you do something you love, you know, you're right on point. Yeah.
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 I would say, I mean, so I've always told, and this will make sense in a second, but I always was told that an introvert and an extrovert, the difference isn't how outgoing they are or how less talkative they are, right? It's more so on, like, they have like a bag of pennies, right? For an introvert, what they're doing is all day long, they're handing out a penny, right? And they might be outgoing. Then people are like, oh my gosh, you're an extrovert. But at the end of the day, all those pennies are gone. And they're like, I need to recharge. I need a space. I need to breathe. Does that make sense? And that's whether you're outgoing or you're a little bit more quieter. And then like in extrovert, what happens is they go around and as they're spending time with each other and they're joking with each other and they're interacting, they're enjoying each other's company, they're getting pennies. They're actually getting recharged by that interaction, by that time with each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think the difference between a job and a career is very similar. A job, I always say, is JOB. It stands for just over broke. You do it to pay for things, right? You do it for the roof over your head, the money in your pocket, the food in your belly. You do it to get by. And without the job, you do not get by. Does that make sense? And you can make a ton of money. You can be, oh man, I'm a multimillionaire, and it's still a job. Why? Because you do it for the money. Whether it's going to be that Tesla that you're paying for in that penthouse, or whether it's the house or apartment that you have and your nice, like, you know, Nissan Coupe or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's what I think the difference is. Where a career, it's something you enjoy. It's something you look forward to. It's something you're proud of. Something you have a sense of accomplishment and a sense of actually making an impact in the world, right?
Yeah, totally.
So when you're doing a career, you're going to have this sense of, like what I was saying earlier, that extrovert when it comes to things, where it's like, I enjoy doing it. So even though even though it's work and still work, but I'm being recharged because it's something I love doing. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
What about you, Cristina? What do you think about that?
I think that with anything, we're going to have days where even if we absolutely love it, like we can just be going through life and we're like, "Ah, I have to go do this, you know, even if it's something that we love and even like, cause it's life, it's going to happen, you know? So there might be days where you don't feel like doing it, but I think it goes back to your purpose, because if it's something that you're meant to be doing, even if you don't want to go in there and you don't feel like doing it, you know that there's a bigger purpose on what you're doing besides just like, oh, I have to go to this job, or like, oh, I have to, you know, go to the smoothie bar or whatever it is. Like, you know that there's a bigger purpose behind it. So I think that it's not like work, but there's definitely going to be days that you don't want to do it. But it goes back to, if you're doing what God has called you to do and you're living your purpose, you know that it's not for you and it's for Him.
Yeah, doing all things unto the Lord, right?
Exactly. So it's like you might not want to do it, but it's like, it's you going and showing up. It's still a form of worship. So, yeah, I think what was it, like, if you do what you love, you won't work a day in your life.
You won't work another day the rest of your life.
So it's like it's like you're kind of considering it like it's work for God, for His kingdom. But I think it's definitely not like, oh, I have to go to work, or I have to do this. It's kind of just a mindset and shifting, like, I get to do this, you know, and it's not for me, but it's for Him, and it's the purpose that He called me to. But that's why it's so important that you're doing what God has called you to do and you're finding your purpose. So, yeah, that's the biggest thing, is finding your purpose and doing what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, because there was like it was like an Instagram reel, and it said that, and then it's like this guy's like, you know, there's a quote, and then he says the quote, and he's like, but that's a lie. He's like, you actually work more doing, you know, what you love sometimes than if you just did like a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's
That's
actually
true.
pretty interesting, right? Like you got to probably,
Oh, yeah.
like that's right, that's true, right?
There's like after hours. There's no 9 to 5. There's like after hours and like.
Well, I was saying, like, you get something more from that. Even you might even work twice as much.
Exactly.
But because you're doing what you're meant to do and you're stepping into your purpose, it's that extrovert. You're gaining something from it. Where, as opposed to working, I think, doing a job or doing something you don't enjoy, it's kind of like this sense of like, I'm constantly being drained, and there's like, it's every day it's pulling out of you. Does that make sense?
And it's like more personal too, like because it's you feel so like attached to it, like
Yeah.
it's your purpose and you love it. It's more personal, so you care more about it. Like I say, like my smoothie bar, people are like, when are you having your next baby? I'm like, this is my next baby. You know what I mean? So, because it's personal, it's like you actually put in more work because you care so much and you want it to be so great. So it does take it's a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I think like with Saint, like you have a good example of that where you're just like, you know, you have like a regular job, right? That you work.
Yeah.
And then you do like the acting thing, and you haven't been, you're not full time in acting, but you're doing something in order to, and I feel like that's pretty common, right? Like in Hollywood, like whether they work at restaurants,
I mean,
like waitresses
some people
and
say
stuff,
they're
right?
actors, and it's like, what have you been in? I was in a commercial like when I was 5 or something. You know?
Yeah,
what I
I
mean?
was actually.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
Almost,
so
almost.
I don't know. Like, I feel like there are the working actors, which is like they're actors that are on television, and they basically guest star on like almost every show, and they like make a living. And then there's like the movie stars, and then there's the people that are like real close to that next place. That's kind of where I'm at right now, where it's like the next step is to be that like a lead on a show or to have like consistent work on TV. And then there's the other people that are like, they kind of move out here because I have this dream. And I think the hard part with that is it's more of a marathon than it is a sprint. And a lot of people don't even have like the beginning phases. It's like you said earlier, after you've done it and you've done so much work for so long, you kind of understand the steps to get there, and you see the difference between the starting point and what it takes to get to the finality of that field. So now when I meet with people and they're like, oh, I want to get in the industry, I was trying to get an agent, or I want to figure out what to do. I'm like, all right, well, where's your training? How long have you been in the field? Do you have headshots? Have you worked on a reel? Have you worked for free, like doing like copy credit meal on a bunch of indies and short films? Did you create your content? Have you written anything before? Are you studying anywhere because they want to see your training or your education? There's so much that goes into even just getting your first agent, and people don't know that, right? That was knowledge that I gained from trial and error over the years since being a child. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now I'm this expert in this field where I can kind of go, well, this is how you do it. This is the next step. Great. Now that we have this is how we're going to leverage this to an agent. This is how we're going to get a manager. This is how you're going to get your first booking. This is what you got to do. Okay, you need to go and work on this because you did a lot of stage work, but you haven't done on-camera work, and there's a big difference between the fields. You got to learn the terminology, right? Like if someone says, pass me that apple, what does that mean? What does that mean to you?
Give you the apple.
Right. So like an apple, like when you eat, right?
Right.
But in the field, in the industry, an apple is like a 3/4 box that's about like that size that you put under something so you can be able to have a little bit of height or adjust the shot. So it's very different terminology. And if I put you on set and they say, all right, first team, you're going to look, what does that mean? Right? Everyone back to one. Right? Oh, pass me that apple. Right? And it's just because you don't know, right? So there's a lot of knowledge that has to come into that. And I learned that from being on sets, from commercials, indie films, short films, feature films, and network television now. And as a result, when I walk in there, I don't come in and they're like doing rehearsals and we're trying to get the shot and we're trying to get up and running and have to, I forgot my line. Can we try it again? I'm in there. I hit the line the first time. I don't make mistakes and I try to keep it tight so that way we can get to the next shot. And that's hard, right? That takes from a lot of work and a lot of dedication. But what people see is the finality of that, right? So all of a sudden you're this overnight sensation when actually I've been doing this since I was a kid. I just grew up in an industry in Hawaii where I'm one of the first people of that industry that are kind of coming up, like a generation of people where we started to do films. I was one of the first group of people that started HFC, which is Hawaii Film Collectors. We were part of that group of people when they first got it off the ground. We didn't have anything like that. We have ACM, which is a lot of the film industry with the University of Hawaii. That wasn't even a thing except within my last few years of being alive, last 10 or 15 years. So, and as opposed to Los Angeles, where, I mean, you could be on Disney at the age of 5, 6, 7, right? Yeah. If that was the case, if I grew up here, I probably would have been on TV since I was a child. But all we had was theater. All we had was commercials, right? We didn't have a lot of TV stuff until Hawaii Five-0 and all these other things where we decided, why don't we teach ourselves and start creating our own content? So now we have people coming out to we have an Asian American Film Festival coming out in this coming up month. I'm going to be going with a bunch of people from Hawaii that are going to be attending. and they're all original projects by Asian American and Pacific Islander writers, producers, directors, actors, cinematographers, editors, all within the house, you know, and that's really cool because we are kind of like making those, sorry, I keep hitting your thing, making those leaps and bounds to get to that place, right?
Yeah.
But it just takes a while. It takes a lot of work. And I was always taught faith without works is dead. And when I first made the leap out here, I had all the knowledge. Like I was actually, I had a client, I worked with a company called Bolt Blue Media, and we would produce commercials within house. Now, was I taught? Did I go to film school? No. At the time, I had no experience except the fact I'd been on multiple sets. I had worked on a lot of things, and I had a client that was willing to pay because they believed I knew I could do it. So I teamed up with a good friend of mine who went to film school. We created the projects. We started to do everything within house, and we started to create the content for them, right? From voiceover, editing, writing, producing, casting, everything. And I started booking things and was on TV, and then all of a sudden I was discovered to come out to Los Angeles. When I was here, I was picked up by a big management firm, and I was like, I don't deserve them. I don't have the experience. Like, why am I with these people? That guy's on network TV all the time, and I've only done one episode of Hawaii Five-0 at the time, you know? And they believed I had what it takes, and it was after like kind of hitting the grindstone, they were like, hey, you know, the problem is you're really talented, but when you get in the room, like afterwards, like when we talked to the casting director, like we like him, he just like does he only have like this many things on his resume that are TV and film? Well, I grew up from Hawaii. I didn't grow up here, so I went back to UCLA, studied theater, film, and TV, so I could kind of like almost vet myself through that system to prove I do know what I'm talking about, and that helped to kind of open up additional doors. And then COVID hit, and when COVID hit, it was like, golly, because I told you about this the last time we talked. I went through the worst year of my life. I had lost a ton of people that were close to me my first year out here. So talking about like having to like persevere and overcome obstacles. I mean, 13 people died in less than like 9-10 months of me being out here. My first day at UCLA, one of my good friends actually had just hung herself. So I went through the worst time of my life. And during that time going, God, I'm being faithful. God, you told me to be here. God, I'm being dedicated. And the goal was that once I got there, I could not only represent him, but I could also help a lot of people in my same place as those first people to kind of venture away from Hawaii, get somewhere, and help kind of pave the way so it's easier for them moving forward.
That's good.
So
That's good.
yeah, it's not easy. It's never easy.
Yeah.
It's a marathon.
But I've been able to help a lot of other friends, a lot of other people get their first network credit, show them, hey, this is what you should do. This is how you get things going as a result of my dedication and hard work and submission to God.
That's good. How are you guys as far as like your dreams and stuff? Like, Bree, we'll kick it over to you. Like, because there's different people, right? When it comes to like their dreams, some people are like big dreamers. Like, I'm gonna have 50 locations one day, and some people are just like, well, like they're not, you know, maybe like how are you like as far as like your dreams for your business, whatever? Like, what does it look like? Are you a big dreamer?
So I would say yes. I would say I didn't used to be. I feel like I had a lot of limitations on myself, and like I don't know if that would be possible or is that realistic and stuff. But at the end of the day, like dreaming big, you dream big, and you could land on something even bigger than you thought, you know, that you were capable of. So even in the process of opening up my smoothie bar, I've told, I remember, I don't know who it was, but I was like, well, I'll know this for my next one. And they're like, your next one, you're barely, you know, and I'm not even open yet, but I'm already speaking like I am going to have multiple locations, like, you know, because I know the purpose behind it. It's like so much bigger than just a building where I want this in different areas, you know, it's the impact for me. And so, yeah, dreaming big, you know, saying, yeah, I'm in the works of a smoothie bar, but I want like 5, 10, you know, 15, whatever it is, because I know it's possible. And that goes hand in hand with, like I said, surrounding myself with people, having mentors, having people I look up to. It's like, if they did it, so can I, you know, the timing. I mean, you know, they might have done it before me or they were younger than me, but this is my time now. And I think it's just letting go of like the limiting beliefs that you can't do it, or there is a certain timeline that you have to follow, which was something that like you just got to let go of. And so, yeah. And I remember I did I went to it was kind of like an event for my team, like a team building leadership event. And one of the activities was to write down like all of your limiting beliefs, you know? And so whatever that was, but just writing it out and then just like letting it go.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I could meet somebody, they know nothing about me, you know? And it's like, you just kind of, sometimes I feel like my first, not thought, but is like, can I do that? Like doubt, right?
Yeah.
Doubt. So self-doubt would be something that I would need to learn to let go of, which I've come a long way, but you know, stuff still creeps up. But it's just putting those big dreams out there and then reminding yourself and connecting with it and like having that vision, you know, what does that look like for me? Because when you have that, you write it out, you can see it. It's like creating a vision board. I love to do that every year. We just did one actually at my shop in January, or I think it was December or January. But printing out the pictures and putting it up there, like, what do you want and stuff. And I learned a lot about myself. I'm like, wow, like, I am kind of bougie. Like, I want that car and I want to, you know, and I want to do this and that and stuff. But it's all possible because people have done it. So definitely, I think just you can never dream too big. You know, I feel like the sky's the limit and it just depends on how much work you're willing to put into it, but then how, like, your faith, like, how big is your faith? Like, do you truly believe that you can get there, you know, and you're not in it alone? Like, you do have God to back you up, and, you know, you have that, you have the support, and you have the possibility. It's just, it's all within your mind. You know, it's all within what you're telling yourself every single day, whether you can do it or whether you can't. So,
but it's scriptural, right? Like it says, write the vision, make it a plain upon tablets. So it's kind of, people don't realize that. And it's like I was saying earlier, she's doing things that I don't think you even know the scripture reference for it, but you're doing things that is lining up with what the Bible says to do. And that's why you're seeing those things happen, which is why I'm always impressed. I'm always like, are you kidding me? I got to say something. But it's like, a lot of times it's like, let me show you. No, let me teach you. With her, every time I look up, I'm going, really, like that's biblical. She doesn't even realize it.
Yeah.
So, like, it's super cool.
so I'm just in it, you know? So it's,
That's good.
Yeah.
What about you, Saint? Are you like a big dreamer and stuff when it comes to like,
I'm a
you're going to be the next Dwayne Johnson?
I Saint the Pebble Thompson. I'm like half his size. My parents are like that. They're big dreamers. But I've also seen the power of God because my parents are pastors, right? So like my whole life, like I told you this last time, my parents was healed of infertility. So like I've kind of seen the power of God, throughout my life. Like I always explain my life as like a series of supernatural events. Like that's all it is. It's just one supernatural event after another of like, even me booking the last project. I told you about this.
Yeah.
I ended up getting COVID. Like I auditioned for the part. Actually, I didn't even audition. They said, hey, this part's going to be yours. It's automatically yours because you're coming back as a recurring. This time we're not going to have you audition. They just want you for the project. I'm like, awesome. And they said, we're waiting for network approval. I was waiting, and it was like a couple days in. Then I ended up getting okay, you got it. Well, that same day I was at home sick. Well, I was like, oh, I'll be better tomorrow. I'll just go into work. And then I'll let my boss know at the end of the week I got to fly out because I'm shooting. Well, it was Tuesday. I found out I got COVID. Like I came into work, and as soon as I came in, I'm in a healthcare college. They were like, "You don't look good." I'm like, "Thanks, I love you too." They're like, "No, really though. Like you look bad. Like, can you please test?" I'm like, "I'm not that sick." Tested positive. They said, "Try one more." Tested again, positive. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So I get in the car and I'm like, "Let me go do a PCR because I'm not sure." So I drove over to like CVS, did a PCR, and then went home. And then literally when I got home, boom. Like lost all my energy, couldn't get out of bed. I was like, oh, this is COVID. And I got a call on Wednesday, like, hi, we just wanted to confirm that you're going to be here on this day, then the other. And I was going, God, like I'm literally been waiting for this. It happened. What do I do? And I hear him goes, it's yours. And I'm like, I would have to test negative, like this coming up Monday. And I'm like, I'm clearly positive and can't even get out of bed right now. So faith, right? This is a big deal. And a lot of people don't realize, but there is going to be adversity that hits you as a result of you going, God, I trust you. What did God say? And it's good to actually have your ear inclined to him, because if you actually hear him clearly, you'll know whether it's faith, foolishness, and presumption. And that's a whole nother conversation. There's a book that's written. It's really good. But I was going, God, okay, I know this is you. I fasted and prayed before this even happened, and I'm trusting that I'm hearing you right. So if that's the case, I'm going to have to confirm with the network that, yeah, I'm still taking the part. I'm going to have to find out like if I'm going to even be better to do the part,
buy my ticket out of faith because I'm still testing positive right now. Jump on a plane to, well, hopefully test negative before I even get on the plane. Get there, and then end up testing negative with that test when I get there. So I had little rapid tests, and I'm like, all right, God, I'm trusting you. So I called them. I said, hey, I'm going to be negative. And they're like, all right, well, that's awesome. So are you coming? I'm like, yep, I'm coming. And they're like, okay, great. And I'm like, here we go. And I'm like, one day after another, was like, I barely get out of bed, was washing my clothes every day. I'm not going to test it. And it was like maybe Thursday, I think Sammy came by with like a little care package of like chicken noodle soup or something like that. And I was like, thank you, Sammy. And I started eating, and I hadn't really been eating. I'd lost a lot of weight during that time. And I was like, okay. And I think it was like Friday. I had already bought my ticket. I was supposed to fly out like, I think it was Friday night or Saturday morning. Might have been Saturday. But I was like, all right, man, let me just test. I mean, it's been a week. I can walk around. I can talk. I tested, and it came back negative. Jumped on a plane, which I already bought my ticket, so I had to get on the plane anyway. Jumped on a plane, flew out, arrived there, and I was like, well, I didn't do a PCR. I've only done rapid. Tested, and then waited. Negative. Shot the very next day after, did fitting the next day after that, tested again, negative, shot, and then jumped on a plane to head back. And if it wasn't for the fact that I trusted God, I would have tested negative. But what would have happened is I would have told them, I didn't even buy a ticket. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I thought I was tested positive at the beginning of the week. So because I was like, God, I trust you. Now, mind you, there's faithfulness and presumption. It's going, yeah, God wants this for me. I'm going to do it. And then all of a sudden now you are out of money because you bought a ticket for no reason. You ended up not getting to shoot the project, and you still have COVID, right? But it was me going, God, I know the voice of a shepherd and the voice of a stranger I will not obey. And I'm going to listen to your voice despite what the facts say. And there's a difference between what the facts say and what the word says. There's a difference between what the facts say and the fact that I'm a tither, right? And your dad was talking about that today.
Yeah.
And there's talking about rebuking the devourer, that is Malachi 3:11, and he can rebuke the devourer because I'm a tither, I'm consistent, right? And Isaiah 53:5, wounded for our transgression, bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. So I stood on those scriptures while being sick, playing worship music, and it's like drooling outside the side of my face. But it worked. And then immediately after that, I found out the following week, hey, by the way, they might want you again. I'm like, I just got home. And then apparently the writers wanted me back, and I was in the finale. So I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't shot 517. I think it's because the writers had saw me on 517. They were like, dude, this guy's pretty good. They wrote me again in 520, which was like less than 3 episodes later. Hey, we need you again. So super thankful, but I really believe the more you do for God, the more you trust him, there's a different level of faith. It's like, okay, you're gonna trust me with this? Because everything's saying the opposite. And and this is something that I don't think it really matters to a lot of people, but if you do have faith, just know that this will happen, is if something happens and you know God wants you to do something, don't tell everybody. I didn't call everybody in the church, oh my gosh, I got COVID. Antoinette knew, right? Your family knew. That was pretty much it. I didn't tell everybody in the church. I didn't want everybody's like, oh my gosh, test negative. It takes months. Because the last time I had COVID, it took me months before I could even prove that, okay, cool, I finally got a negative test. But I was standing believing one thing, and I didn't want words that were out there, right? That was not faith. I didn't want fear spoken. I wanted faith spoken. So if you weren't going to back me up and stand on the word of God, I ain't even going to let you know. Right? You know what I mean? And that's why I feel like Jesus would kick people out of there sometimes. Get out of here. I'm going to pray for this girl to be healed, but all you guys are doubters. You're haters. Get out of here. So when Sammy came with his chicken soup, I was like, hey, man, I'm supposed to shoot next week. And he's like, okay. I said, I'm believing God that I'm going to be completely negative before the week's done. And he goes, I believe it.
Why could I picture? I could picture him doing that.
I believe it. And I'm like, all right, so you're going to stand in faith with me. He's like, yep, you're going to test negative. Nothing else was said, nothing against what my faith was, and then it came through. So I think that's a lot of what it is. It's like knowing what God's calling is for you, standing and believing it, walking it out, making sure that that's what it is. And I also think there is wisdom in a multitude of counsel, so making sure that the people that are in your lives like what she was saying with her mentors and different people who have already done it, making sure those people are people that you can trust, rely on, and are in faith as well.
That's good. That's good. And Cristina, we have a ministry right here, like Marketplace Ministries. Talk to us a little bit about that, like what that's about, like
Yeah.
because you guys are meeting this.
We just met yesterday.
Yesterday, right?
Yeah, we just met yesterday. Pastor's actually revamping the whole thing, so I'm really excited to see what the new season is. But what we've experienced so far, so Pastor always, like you mentioned earlier, he teaches the message on increase. And he's always consistently taught that message of increase. And I've learned so much from Pastor. And it's just so awesome that that also took a lot for me to work through, because I come out of like law of attraction and manifestation, not to hear that the word of God tells you like, this is all biblical and you should dream bigger and God's going to make it happen. And so when Pastor started teaching all of this message of increase, it really opened my eyes to like, wow, this is all biblical. And the enemy just took it and perverted it.
Yeah.
So it's just so awesome. But the Marketplace Ministries, it started off as just like Pastor giving a teaching on increase, right? And he always opens up for us to go to these increase conferences with him, which are honestly life-changing. I encourage everybody to go. If Pastor does open it up for the church, I encourage everybody to go, because these conferences are literally life-changing. And that atmosphere, as soon as you step in there, it's insane. It's like another level. But it's just so awesome that these like men and women of God take biblical principles. It's not selfish, like fleshly desires, but biblical principles, and apply them, and just seeing God's hand over your business, over your life, over your finances. But it's so awesome because God has really been on that message of increase. And I feel like there'll be seasons where there's a season for everything, right? But we went through a season like this before when Pastor taught on the Wise Master Builder, and it was like a 10-part series, which was amazing. And it's just so awesome to see that like God is like, okay, it's time to like reminder, refresher. Let's not forget about increase. Let's not forget about your goals. Let's not forget about what you have going on in your life, but let's dream bigger. And it's so awesome when Marty came and like, he talked about how don't settle for less than God's best for your life. And I feel like a lot of people do that. And especially in the waiting season, it's like, that there's God's best, but it might not be now. And you feel like you want to just settle because you're in that waiting season. And that was just such a beautiful reminder. Like, don't settle for less than God's best, especially in that waiting season. It can be so easy to just give in and cave and be like, okay, fine. Like, I guess this is what it is. And God's like, no, keep going. Like, I didn't say to settle. Like, that's not my best. Stop it. So, but it's so awesome. Pretty much like that's what Marketplace Ministries is. Now it's going to be a little bit different. We're working on some new things. So I don't really know what that's going to look like because we just met yesterday. And so we'll see, because things kind of shifted a little bit after we went to this event. Well, I didn't go. I had something for work that day, but the Marketplace Ministries went in January. So I know they took a lot from that. So they're going to kind of revamp it. But the plan is to just be poured into and really take those increased principles and then apply them to your life. But the biggest thing is just like, is it God's will, and always waiting for his go ahead. Like, we don't want to step outside of God's will. It's like, we never want to do that. And like one scripture that I always go back to, like from the beginning of when I got saved to now, and I'll always hold on to the scripture, is Matthew 6:33. And it's, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added on to you. And I think that even goes back to your purpose. Like, I'm just going to strip myself of everything that I want, but it's like, God, I'm going to seek you. What do you have for me? And I think like people want this like huge revelation to just come about, but it's as simple as like, okay, I'm going to sit down and just open your word and seek you, and everything else will come. Like, all of the answers, everything will come. Just seek him. And that includes increase. But that's really what the Marketplace Ministries is up until now. And we're just following Holy Spirit's prompting to see where he wants us to go, whether that be like establishing an actual business, or just working on business plans, or just teaching us how to just like market something. But right now, as of now, it's just been, Pastor really getting into a more intimate setting with us and teaching us and mentoring us on increase and on those principles. But it's so awesome that like Pastor will never let us like just settle or just like accept the bare minimum. Like Pastor's like, no, you're made for more. Like you're absolutely made for more. And he's like, and it's so awesome. I love so much that Pastor will always say like, it's not for me, it's for you. And I don't want this so that you can pay me, right? But eventually, like, that's what we would want to do. You know, he always jokes. He's like, when you make it, don't forget about me. And, you know, and I love that so
Someone
much.
please take him on vacation.
Right? He always
Every
says
time.
that.
Don't forget about me.
Yeah. And, yeah, it's so awesome. It's so awesome that he does that. But he's like, I want you to go higher than me. He's like, I don't want where I'm at to be your cap. Like, I want you to go higher. And I think that's so beautiful that like he just genuinely wants to see us succeed and is genuinely pouring into us for increase. And I am so ready. I'm going to take Pastor on vacation. Antoinette always says she's going to take him on vacation too. But
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, it's cool. And something I wanted to touch on, because I know Saint, you had talked about it, but let's talk about the haters. Let's talk about the hate, right? Let's talk about the pushback. Like, Bree, we'll start with you. Like, in this time that you've done this, like, have you had those people, like, or has it been pretty positive? What's it been like as far as people like being negative and stuff?
I think I've had a lot of support. It's actually been extremely supportive. I would say that people there are haters, you know, possibly. You will endure that. But at the same time, what I take it as is like reassurance, like this is the direction I'm going to go, right? And I'm a pretty nice person. So like, I mean, if I have haters or people want to get weird or have weird energy, whatever, put it on me, it doesn't have anything to do with me. It has everything to do with them. And so again, it's being in that space, you know, of like having the clarity. This is what I want to do. Like things are going to come up, you know, haters or whatever wants to stop me. Like, got it, you know, keep on going. Like use the haters as your compass, use the resistance as your compass, that you're right where you need to be. So shout out to all my haters because I do something right.
What do they say? Like haters are your motivators.
Totally.
That's like a Facebook quote or something.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. No, I mean, it's hard because like sometimes like you want to focus. Sometimes we focus on stuff like that, right? Like we only focus on the negative. We can have like 1 million good reviews and that one person, you know, like I'm sure you're going to have a Yelp soon. Like, you know
I'm
what
terrified.
I mean?
I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, but that's what it goes back to. Like, it's so personal because it is my business, something that you love, right? So when you do have that negativity, it's like, it's not easy to turn it into a positive or be like, that's just totally on them. You know, it's like, okay, let me take a deep breath, like, you know, and stuff. But it's just my reassurance. It's just to keep on going. And you'll know the people that are in your corner, the ones that are there to support you, that's all you need, you know, and stuff. And when you're authentic and you're genuine and you're aligned with the things you're supposed to be aligned with, you're going to have the good compliments and the good business and the success and the people. And those are the ones that are meant to be there, right? Like who want to ride for you through all of that. And then when they see you also be like, all right, Bree's about to open. Like,
ride or dies.
Yeah, ride or dies. Totally, ride or dies, you know, like, and that means a lot to me. But at the same time, it's like, whether they're there or not, like, I'm going to keep on going.
There
right?
we go.
So, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. That's what's up. No, I agree
You have
with
a lot
her.
of haters?
Yeah. I think it's impossible not to get to somewhere in your career in film and TV or launching a business in general without having haters, because everybody in my industry wants to get to where I am or where I'm going, and when that happens, you're gonna have haters just because it's like, dude, how'd you, like, I want that, you know, like what makes you better than me? And the industry, it's so funny because I mean, it's not like something you can really plan for. It's not something that you can kind of predict in the industry. Like there's a guy recently, there's a Lilo and Stitch movie, and there's this guy, looks super Hawaiian, looks perfect for the role, but he's been playing the role of David in Lilo and Stitch. It's like maybe a second or third project he's ever done. He's had like small things, commercials, stuff like that. But it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be huge for him. It's going to change his life. Well, I've been doing it way longer. What? But that's not how the industry is. And instead of being competitive, being like, yes, a Pacific Islander got it. They took care of you. Someone from Hawaii that wasn't like cast in like New Zealand and they're saying he's Hawaiian, or you know what I mean, like they literally use someone from home, and this means a lot anyway, and just being happy for each other. And what I've noticed is the more you're happy for the successes of others, the more you start to see success in your own life.
That's good.
Does that make sense? My mom and dad used to always say, like, when someone's being successful, and be like, oh, like, look at that, celebrate with them. And may God, I'm next, right? Like, you got me next, right? You know, like, and
I think that's kind of how you have to take it. With me, I think the kind of people that I deal with that have been more haters than anyone are the people that I thought were my friends. It's people who were in my corner at one point, and then whenever things start working out, they're like, well, why isn't that happening to me? And then they start to fade away.
Isn't that crazy how that happens? Like sometimes
yeah.
your closest people, friends, family.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
My first year out here, part of the rough time, I wrote a project called One Shot. I produced, wrote, and acted in it. And it was really well done. We were like, dude, this is going to be huge. I still won Best Actor for it and did some good things, got some accolades. But as we made that project and we put it out, the person that I let, she was a first-time director. Like, I want to be a part. I want to be able to direct it. But I was like, no. And I finally said, fine, I'm going to allow you because you're my friend. Immediately when it was made, ran off to an editor, would not talk to me, cut me out of everything, would not like speak to me at all, and then ran off with it. And I was like, I wrote that project. You know what I mean? Like, it was my decision to allow you to do this. So I've seen people on that level where it's like, dude, I thought we were friends and you're taking advantage of my kind nature. And then I've also seen on the other side of it where it's like maybe someone was further ahead in their career and then I kind of leapfrogged them. And then they were like, we're not friends anymore. So it's interesting. So I try to not do that for others. I think if you can build like a friendship and a good relationship, and that goes in like dating or it goes into just being friends or it's going to business. And I think that's what I said to Sammy when we first met. He was like, hey, I want to help you with your career, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I like to connect people. And I said, that's awesome. I don't know you, bro. Like, that's my words with him. He was in Pasadena. We were going to do karaoke, and me and Antoinette, we all met up afterwards. I said, I don't know you, bro. I go, here's the deal. I got to build that relationship first. I go, because I've been screwed over. I've been gone through stuff. And Hawaii, we're a little different. We have a kuleana, our responsibility in Hawaii. So we look out for each other a little bit differently, because if I screw you over, it's going to get to everyone on island. Yeah, I mean, that's not how it works. Where she can just run off to Florida or another state and keep working with my project. It couldn't happen back home. So as a result, I was like, I get it. You're a pastor's kid. I'm a pastor's kid. We have a lot in common. I still don't know you. So we had to build that first. But Sammy, over the course of probably less than a year, it feels like it's been like 5 years or something, like we've known each other almost.
Yeah.
But we built that relationship. And as a result, I'm like, all right, here's the deal. And I'll just tell him almost everything now. Having COVID, I'm like, hey, we're linking up as partners and you're going to help me get there, right, bro? Kind of thing. And same thing with Antoinette and Chris, like, they know everything that's going on in my life most of the time. And it's just because that relationship, through like trial and error and like rough times and going through different things, we've kind of established that friendship, which allows me to kind of be more open and connect with. So I have a friend recently, he just wrapped on a movie with Jesse Eisenberg and Adrian Brody, and shout out to Salu Sase. Hey, Salu. And he's killing it. He's doing really well. And I try to always just be like, every time I see his post about, I just wrapped on, I'm in Germany and we're at a press conference. I'm so proud of you. I remember being in the trenches. I was trying to get to where you are. And I'm so proud that you're finally getting into there. You know what I mean? Like, because I know that when I get there, that's what I want. I want my friends to be like, dude, we're so proud of you. Not, well, good for you. Look how you're doing. Not that false, like, joy for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking on relationships, because you brought up relationships, how important is it to have someone like a boyfriend, girlfriend situation, whatever?
I wouldn't know.
Like, we're all single here, Manny. I think you're asking Manny, what do you say?
Single, yeah. So, new subject. What's it like to be single?
No, that's
single
important.
focus
That's
leader,
important, though.
so-
That's important, right? Like, who you're with is like super important, especially
100%.
where you guys are at, right? Bree gets me. She knows what's up,
100%.
right?
Bree's like, I'm trying to help.
Right? Like, it's important, right?
Yes,
you want
it
someone
is.
that's gonna be on your same, if not better, right? Call you up. Like, that's huge. I had a friend. He was starting a business, and everything looked good. Everything was going great, and all of a sudden, like, he got with somebody and literally lost everything. And it's just like, I was like, what? Like, I could not believe I ran into him like a couple months later and stuff. And he was just like, dude, my whole world got like turned upside down just because of like one relationship, like shattered everything. Like, I won't say exactly what business, but he had to like literally close his doors, sell everything, like gone, like lost all his money invested, all because of like a relationship. Like, it was crazy, you know? So it's like every move counts, especially when you're a business owner.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super important. Saint,
Well,
you make me
was
laugh,
there a
Saint.
question?
You make
Yeah.
me laugh, Saint.
I'm like listening to you going, yeah, I know.
You make me laugh. No, but okay, this is my question though. Like, being that you guys are single, like, it's like, is that something that you guys think about? Like, when you guys think about like being with somebody, right? Like, you want someone that's gonna be. You don't want someone that's gonna be doing nothing, right? Like that couch potato we talked about.
Yeah.
Like, you want someone with goals that's gonna support you, that has vision. Like, talk about that. Like, do you guys think about that? Like, when you guys are looking for your, your future, is that like a big thing that you guys look in?
Yeah, I mean, I speak for myself, but all the time, yeah. It's not. I mean, what the field I'm in is not easy. It's not easy to be a Christian and be in the industry. I did turn down that role we talked about a few months ago, and that's a whole story. But I was up for a recurring guest star. I booked it, which was supposed to be the biggest role up to date that I had gotten. It was back in October-ish of last year, and Antoinette knows. But it was gonna require me. Originally, it didn't require anything. It was just comedy, and it was funny. And they were like, "Cool, you're gonna get the role." Then I went into the callback, and they were like, "Hey, we just want to let you know there's gonna be nudity in the role." And I'm like, "Oh." And I said, "How much are we talking?" Like, "You're gonna see pretty much everything. You're just gonna have something covering that one area." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, not what was in the script originally." "Yeah, I know, but the network, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "No, I can't do this."
You didn't say how much money, did you?
I'm not gonna say how much. It was a good
You're
amount
like,
of
"How
money,
much?"
though.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah, no, it was a good amount of money though, and of course I didn't do it. I turned it down and told my manager, and my manager didn't, because I'm like, business, like, relationships matter. My manager was like, "All right, I'll let them know," and didn't let them know. So almost like 2-3 weeks went by. They never notified the executive producer of the project, and because we had such a good relationship, exchanged Instagrams and the callback, and he notified me. He's like, "Hey, we're so happy to have you on board." Messaged me on Instagram. I still have the message, and I'm like, "What? Like, what do you mean you have me on board?" And he's like, "What do you mean? Like, that's what's happening, right? Aren't you? You didn't accept the role?" And I'm like, "No. Did you not talk to my manager?" We talked, and apparently my manager hadn't said anything, and he assumed that was good news, because who's going to turn down a really big role? And I explained to him, I said, "Hey, just goes against my beliefs and about what I stand for." I go, "You guys aren't going to offer me enough money for this," and kind of thing. No, I'm just playing. But I turned it down, and after I turned it down, I contacted my manager and confronted him, like, "This isn't right. I mean, you're supposed to represent me, and you didn't do this." And he basically, kind of got upset about it, but said, "Fine, moving forward, I understand. I was just hoping you change your mind." And that was the end of it. And he said that he was going to, stay with me into the new year for pilot season, which starts in January. Instead, December 31st, it was like a Saturday, he dropped me from the firm. Like, he was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know we're not going to be representing you anymore. I think we think different ways for your career and where it's going, and we're going to let you go." So I'm like, okay, this is like a really high management firm. It's hard to even get them to begin with. Now, because I turned down a role, which was the biggest role up to date, he's going to drop me. So I'm like, okay, God, all these prophecies of me blowing up in 2023, all these things happening, it's like the opposite. But I'm not moved by what I see. I'm moved by faith. So I'm going to trust you and continue moving forward. 2 days later, my good friend, it was like an observance of the holiday. It was like a Monday for the Pasadena. They were doing the parade and everything. I go to my friend's house, and I get a call from my guy friend, Michael Larry Camp. He's an actor on the new Beverly Hills Cop movie coming out, and he's been on a lot, Magnum PI, Wi-Fi, a lot of the shows I've been on. We're good friends. And he was like, "Hey, what's the deal with your manager?" And I'm like, "Oh, you found out already?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I found out. He's like, "Well, they dropped me." He's like, "Oh, good, because I already been pitching to my manager for the last few months. I was just hoping that you would take him." And I'm like, "Shut up." So they're really big, really cool. And I finally was like, "All right, well, let's see what we can do." So I kept reaching out to them, like, "Hey, I'd love to meet with you." And they were so busy with red carpets and flying off to Princeton, going to London, and just working on all these other things. They just didn't have time to meet with me. So I assumed, all right, well, then, whatever, I'll just, do my thing. Finally, I shot the project, came back, and then I was like, "You know what? What's the worst can happen? They're going to just drop me." So I called them. "Hey, just want to see, are you guys serious?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, we do. I'm so sorry. We've been so busy. Let's meet with you in about a week." So we got together, we met, and immediately we sit down. They were like, "All right, so tell us about yourself. Like, why should we move forward?" I know Kim likes you, but the owner, Tino. Hi, Kim. Hi, Tina. If you guys watch this, love you guys. was sitting there, and she's just like, so what's your stance? What do you want to do with your career? What do you want to be? And I'm like, I want to go all the way. I want to be a star. I want to kind of move forward. I want to start my own production company. I'm a writer, producer, director, actor, singer, dancer. I have music that's ready to go. This is what I'm thinking. And as I was listening to them, like I guess Tina had worked in the music industry for many years too. Her mom was in that industry, and she does talent now. And as we were chatting, I said, I don't know how you guys feel, and I started talking about God. And I was like, I believe in God with my whole heart. My parents are pastors. I grew up in church, and I just started giving my testimony. And as I was talking, they both kind of were grinning, like kind of smirking at me. And I'm like, what's so funny? Like, almost like, what's going to happen? Like, what are they thinking? And Kim goes, I think we told you this before, but I'm a Christian too. And I said, oh, really? She's like, yeah. In fact, my parents are pastors. And I'm like, wow. Okay. And then Tina's like, yeah, I'm a Christian. I love God. I'm like, that's crazy. So not only did God give me a better manager, but God gave me Christian managers that wanted to rep me immediately. And they're like, we're going to get you a better agent. We want to put a better team together. We want to get you ready for the new season. And then immediately after that, the recurring guest star that I turned down was fine because I got a network one with Magnum PI. So it still worked out for the good of those who loved God. It just didn't look like that at the time, right? And it was just, I'm going to walk it out, like you mentioned earlier, just continue trusting God, even though it looks really, really rough at the moment,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's awesome.
All right, I have one last question. What would you tell you? We'll go Bree, and then we'll kind of go this way. What would you tell yourself? Like, you can go back, talk to like your high school self. Like you can go, what is it, like back to the not Back to the Future, right? Back like
your future self
yeah,
or your younger self.
Your younger self. There we go. Your younger self. Not
Back to the Future.
You can to come back. You gotta come back to the future, I guess. Okay. You went to Bishop Vermont, right?
Yeah. Frias.
Okay, so let's say you can go back right now yourself. You're at Bishop Vermont. Okay. You're doing your thing there. What advice would you give yourself back then that you know now that you wish you knew back then?
I wish I knew back then. Oh, goodness, because I had no idea. Like I didn't even think about my future back then. I was like, I love volleyball. I'm an athlete. I just want to play sports and have fun, and which is awesome. Like obviously, but I just wasn't really serious about the future. Like I didn't really feel like I had like, I didn't wake up and like as a little kid and this is what I want to be. I want to be a doctor. Or I want to be none of that. I was just like, life is cool, like, and stuff. So if I could go back, I mean, I would love to really know, like, I mean, we all would love to know, like, what does it look like? Like, what do I love doing? Do I love playing sports? Okay, awesome. But like, I don't know. I don't even know what I tell my future self.
Just say hi.
I would just say, hey. No, yeah.
You're going to have an amazing daughter
honestly,
one day.
I think, okay, seriously, if I could go back and tell my future self, I would say the future's not going to be easy, but like the work is going to be worth it. Nice. The process is going to be worth it. And there's no right or wrong for you. You're going to figure out a lot of stuff along the way, but at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. You're going to be where you're meant to be, but it won't be easy, Yeah, so.
That's good.
That's what I'd say. Yeah.
What about you, Saint? You're out there surfing. You're 15 years old, getting a nice tan on the beach. What are you telling yourself?
I want to jump back on that other question about being single and all that stuff. I think no. Like I actually didn't answer the question. I went down a rabbit trail. So first off, I do think that it really does matter who you end up with. Like, the unequally yoked, right? Like it literally can pull you off track. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, I think who you marry can completely derail you from the call of what God has for you. It's not going to remove the calling, but it can derail you from hitting it sooner. So it can knock you off track to try to, oh gosh, now I got to figure out how to get back. So in my opinion, I think you really do need that person that's like iron sharpen iron. You need that one can put 1,000, two can put 10,000 to flight. You need to have that threefold cord that's not easily broken, right? You, your wife, and God to try to move forward. And if you don't have that, then that's probably not the one for you. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to succeed. However, if you do have that person that's like that, that's going to strengthen you, encourage you, empower you, be in scripture and be like, God told me something for your life. I think you can kind of penetrate different levels of the heavenlies a lot easier and a lot faster, which is why I'm like, God, give me the right person. But I think it's a big deal. And I would rather be, like Paul said, be single and do what I'm called to do than to be in a relationship that is not what God wanted me into. And it derail my calling or derail my purpose. because I've spent so much time focusing on that. Now, outside of that, what was your other question that when we were talking about? I wanted to recircle
That's good though.
back.
Thank you for clarifying
That's
that.
good.
No, like if you can go back to
My
know,
past.
Yeah, like I said, you're surfing. You're 15 years old. You're chilling. You're catching a big wave. Like, what are you telling yourself?
I mean, so what I would say is like, first off, like number one, like my future self would be like, hey, here's the deal, man. Like, you're not the center of attention. It doesn't matter. Not everything is about you. And I think a lot of people forget that. As a child, as a teenager specifically, you're like, oh my gosh, I have acne. I hope they don't see it. Or, oh my gosh, like my hair doesn't look perfect. Let me gel it right. Or, oh my gosh, like my clothes are kind of messy. Like it's not the nicest brand. Or it's like, that's not what it's about. And a lot of times what you realize is everyone else is thinking the same thing. Oh my gosh. And no one's even thinking about each other. They're thinking about themselves, right? And it's a high school thing. It's a teenage thing. You're still trying to figure it out. But you'll actually impact more at that age, like in Aiden's age, if you don't think about yourself and look at the people around you. Start helping the people around you. Instead of being so focused on what is going on in my life, what's going on in others, and how can I help. Like, love your neighbor as yourself and love the Lord your God, heart, soul, and mind. That's how you can really tell. I think even when you're looking for a spouse is like, how do they treat others and how do they treat God? And that's it. If you're not treating God right, then, I mean, you're robbing him in tithes and offering and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you probably don't love God. I mean, and if I look at you and you're treating others, you're rude, you're kind of snotty, you have attitude, I'm like, okay, cool. You don't love God either, because you can't love people and not love God. So with that being said, I mean, that's kind of what I would say is like, hey man, forget about about what people are maybe thinking about you, and start to think about others and try to impact those people. And then I would say the second thing I would tell myself is just, hey man, like, what you think you're called to do, it's nothing like what you think, like, and to worship through the storm, because that was what got me through. Like, I was planning on ending my life at one point, the story. Mm-hmm. And it was literally worship. And Antoinette knows that better than most. It's literally turn on the music, worship, praise, honor God, prayer, and just sit there and just go, God, I'm here, and sometimes praising through the storm. I mean, I feel like worship's casting that care upon God. Praise is kind of just celebrating and thanking him for what he's done before it's happened. Does that make sense almost? Like, and a lot of times I think we do a lot of worship. God, I have this burden. Let me give it to you. Cast all your cares upon him, for he cares for you, right? But we don't do a lot of praising and a lot of thanking God. Thank you for what you've already done in my life. Thank you for what you're going to do to get me through this storm. Help me get to that final destination. So, hey, your best friend's going to be worship and praise during the next season of your life.
Yeah.
That's good. What about you, Cristina? Go back.
Really quick, I want to touch on your last question too. When it comes to like finding the right person, especially in your season of singleness, I'm very picky, because it's like, if I'm doing all of these things to better myself as a woman of God, I need to make sure that the man that I'm looking for is doing all those things to better himself as well. And it's like, if I'm able to provide all of these things, going to all of these meetings for increase, making sure like I'm set and I have my goals and all that stuff, like I need to make sure that person is also in that same mindset, because like you said, Manny, I'm not going to look for a couch potato. Heck no, he needs to be God-fearing man.
What if he looks nice? What if he looks good though?
No.
He's a 10. He's a 10 though.
Nah. And he's not a 10 if he's a couch potato.
Hey, that's true. That's true.
No goals, but handsome.
Yeah,
Hey.
absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Because I'm not going to be the provider in the relationship. Absolutely not. I won't do that, So he has to be God-fearing, has to be goal-oriented, and has to, be about, increase and all that stuff. But yeah, I think it's super important, super, super important. Because if not, like, you're going to get backtracked for sure. You're going to get, like, steered off of the road. Like, it's everything. Like, who you marry is everything. And I think that we should, and that's what I was referring to earlier. Like, for me, I can place that, what Marty said to my life is like, don't settle for less than God's best. Because I feel like sometimes in that season of singleness, we can like, I just want my spouse already, and you settle for the wrong person, and that's not God's best for you. And that's going to just completely shift your life in not a positive way. So who you choose is everything. Right. But that also ties into what I would tell my past self in high school. is you are loved. Like, you're worthy and you're loved, because I never felt that when I was in high school or when I was a kid. And that's why I went such a crazy route, because I never felt loved. I never felt like anybody cared about me. Like, I was like, well, my family doesn't care where I'm at, so I'm going to be out in the streets all day, you know? And I think that's another thing too, is like, your family loves you. They might not really know how to express that, but they love you so much. And it's so awesome that like God has healed me, that I'm now that glued to my family, to show my family it's okay that we show each other affection. And it's so funny because like we always tell one another like, oh, I love you whenever we hang up or whenever we're leaving. And my family and I were not used to that. So like now I'm like, I don't enforce it on my family, but I'm like bringing that culture in of reminding one another, like, I love you. So sometimes like I'm leaving, I'm like, bye, I love you. And they don't say anything. And I'm like, I love you. And they're like, I love you too.
Do you guys not love me? What's up?
So it's like, they just don't know how to express it. But I think that's the one thing I would tell myself, because I didn't feel loved or I didn't feel worthy. I went through such a dark path. And that's what I would tell myself. Like, you are loved, you are worthy, and you don't have to live this lifestyle that you're living, because that's not going to bring you any fulfillment.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's good.
Wow.
That's really
fucking
good.
preach.
Yeah.
I was saying that earlier, like Anthony Evans, he's a pastor, and he was talking about like I was watching with my parents when I was back in Hawaii visiting, but he talks about like how like there's a Trinity, right? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, but how like God, like he created man and he made him in his image, but how that's the same thing that he's created the Trinity within us, right? And that's the husband, the wife, and the child. You know what I mean? And how we need to make sure that whoever you end up with, that they're going to be that person, because that other person has your DNA. They have that written in them, just like God the Father, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus, right? So it's making sure whoever that other person, that spouse, that person that you end up with, that whoever you have, like that they can, like if something were to happen to me, I can be like, hey, my wife's still going to train her in the way they should go. So when she's older, she won't depart from it. Like she's going to raise her as a woman of God or a man of God that's going to be powerful, even if I'm not around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, I think it's like developing yourself, like you said, like working on yourself first, because yeah, oftentimes if you're like not in a relationship, or people jump into relationships but they're not ready because they're not even ready within themselves yet. And so it's like, even going back to what I would tell my future self, I'm all thinking when you guys are talking about like not caring what other people think, and not like allowing their insecurities or how you think they want you to be, or how, you know, how you want them to see you. Like, none of that matters, because if it's not your true self, then like it's not gonna work, right? So I think it's just being really like true to yourself, working on yourself, being clear on what you want and the person, you know, that you're going in the direction to become, and setting those standards first and foremost. Because if you jump into something and the standards aren't even set, like, hey, like this is how it is, like we're gonna go to church on Sundays, like, you know what I mean, I'm serious about my faith, like, you know, and this is, I'm a businesswoman, like this is what it looks like, and all these things, like how are they going to know that if you're not clear from the start? Because you're jumping into something, and then, you know, that's when stuff.
Because you're so cute, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, but there's also like, I see the things on Instagram, and it's like, you could be cute, but how's your mindset? You know, like, because I mean, then that's just surface level stuff, and it's nice, but it wears off. You know, so
What if he's a 5, but he's really goal oriented though?
Dang, that might make him a 10.
Yeah.
Possibly.
That's funny.
But that's important though. It's
Yeah.
important.
There are 5. They were like, hey, you know, like I got like my business plan in order. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he's like picking his nose while he's telling you, like, what?
No, there's some
Yeah.
non-negotiables.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. No, but it's important. It's
Yeah.
important. Like you said, a lot of that's just like, you know, that's just
Yeah.
what people see. And I think a big thing is like social
You just
media.
gave a bunch of people hope at home. They're like, 5? Yes.
No, wait, sorry to cut you off, Betty, but before I forget how you were saying, what if he's a 5 but he's very goal oriented? I actually just had this conversation with someone. It's like, there's like people who might not, like, to the physical eye or by worldly standards be the most attractive, but something about them makes them so attractive. And it's like, why are they so? And I honestly, I think it's the anointing on people. I really feel like it's the anointing on someone's life that can, like you said, make them from like a 5 to like a 10. But yeah.
No, that's true. There was this worship leader. Back in the day, and he had like a bowl cut, like pretty overweight, and like,
Golly.
yeah, he just, you know, I was just like, and one girl I remember from our church back then, she's like, oh my God, I would marry him like in a heartbeat. And I would look at her, I was like, are you crazy? She's like, yeah, that's so attractive. I was like, dang, that's cool for her. Yeah, that's cool.
Someone told me that a long time ago. They were like, men of God marry up. I said, what do you mean? He's like, if you're bad looking, then you're a man of God. You'll find a really beautiful wife. I said, you're so stupid. He's like, no, dude, really though. He's like, because there's something else there. And I've seen that though. Like when I was at UCLA, I was doing a scene and we were just hanging out. And I was like, man, I studied for it. I did all the work. And I would pray right before I do my scene. I'd be like, God, less of me, more of you, none of me, all of you. Increase my ability, my talent, so I can do a really good production. I actually do the best performance I could possibly pull off. I would go in and I'd do the scene. And I remember afterwards, one of the teachers was just like, man, it was really good because of this. And then she just stopped. She said, you know what? I'm just going to tell you what I actually think. I don't think it has anything to do with all the stuff I just said. I think you just have a light on you. I said, she's like, does anyone else see that? And she looked around the room and I thought, this is weird. We're in like an auditorium, at the school. She's like, you just have like a light about you, like something on you. Like, you know what I mean? And I thought, talking about God, now you're not talking about me at all. Like the other stuff was me. That's God, kind of thing.
For sure.
And I do think there is that other thing that can make someone where you're like, you a 5. I don't know, make him a 10, but I mean, it might make him like a 7 or an 8.
A strong 8.
You moved up a little bit. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll get to know them better, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, I just want to thank you guys for coming on. You guys, man, it's a lot of wisdom right here being poured out and stuff. And I know people are going to get blessed by this. So thank you guys again. So shout out to them, guys. Go check out Bree. She's got all of her stuff. Like I said, even if you're might be specifically in the city, but even if you're in the general area, even come out. Take a Saturday. If you live in LA, baby, come out, try her stuff, check it out. Saint, you're going to see him on more projects and everything. So it's amazing.
Or you can follow me on Instagram at _Saint Thompson.
Look at that plug. Look at him. Look at him right there, just plugging himself in. So good. No, but for real, thank you guys.
Shameless plug.
There you go. Thank you guys, though, for real, for being on here and pouring in, like I said, to the next generation. Because it's not only people that are in our generation, but like my dad was talking to Aiden and his friends today. Like it's people younger kids that might watch this and be like, man, like I look up to her. Man, I look up to him. Like, they're doing something. They're Christian, but they're not weird. Like that's my biggest thing when it comes to Christianity. Like it's not like this weird thing like we grew up looking at it. You know what I mean? It's like you could be totally normal. You could be cool, whatever, business owner, all that, and still have like your faith. You know what I mean? Right. So it just really means a lot. So thank you guys. I appreciate it so much. With that being said, we'll see you guys in the next episode again. Make sure you guys comment, subscribe, like the video, share this on your social media, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Bye.